I've worked with some of the biggest names in house music, and I've worked with some of the smallest names in house music. I really don't have a preference. If the music is good and, you know, you guys could work with my management team, then the opportunity's there. It's there. Just shoot me a DM and we can make it happen.
Nice. Slide into Mr. V's DMs.
Yeah, equal opportunity employer. So, yeah. The biggest lesson I learned is this is a marathon, not a race. And what I mean by that is I didn't chase after success. I worked hard for years to get everything that's come to me. Do you think there needs to be a female DJ coalition type thing happening?
I feel like there are already. They do exist in the industry. Like she said, Future Female Sounds, There's a lot of work being done, certainly more than when I first started. Welcome back to Mission Makers live from Amsterdam Dance Event 2025, and this is our first interview, and I'm so thrilled to be joined by the legendary Mr. V, one of the most iconic voices in dance music. And this is extremely special because V and I collaborated on a track recently this year that came out, and this is the first time we're meeting. This is the first hour of our interactions.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Thank you for having me, by the way. Thank you to ADE and to Mission Makers, right?
That's the one.
Yes, thank you for having me and having me on this interview. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. So let's just kind of get straight into it. I'm going to give you the Royal Mission Makers treatment. No, I'm joking. But something that we always like to sort of dissect a little bit is the meaning of our guest name, because we often find that there's actually an interesting correlation between the person's name and like who they are or like what they go on to do. So I know you had a quick glance at our questions, but are you aware of like your name and its meaning?
Mr. V.
Or Vincent, because you're Victor, sorry.
Victor,
your real name.
I try not to use my real name at all. Government reasons, tax reasons. But Mr. V, here's a funny story how Mr. V became Mr. V. I was filling out an application for a credit card and I didn't finish it. And you know how in the boxes it says Mr., Mrs. or whatever, and I put Mr. and then I put V, and I was working at a marketing agency and I never finished filling it out, but I did bring that home with me, the application for an American Express card. And then when I got to my kitchen the next day, I saw it unfinished and I just saw Mr. V, like the Mr. checked and then just the V. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to use that. That's going to be something short, sweet, and that's how Mr. V came to be. Nothing crazy, just me being an idiot, which is perfect.
Well, it definitely has a good ring to it, right? It's very easy. It's not hard to forget. But the actual name means, in Latin, it comes from vincere, which means to conquer or to win. And I mean, mate, you freaking won in life.
Come on, let's go, man. Yes, W's forever. Yes, I didn't even know that. Wow, that's deep.
That's deep, man. That's how we like to go into the deep end straight away.
Wow, thank you for that. Man, I got a second term of life right now. Thank you so much. That's crazy. That's cool.
It's a pleasure. But yeah, I mean, obviously you came up in the golden era of New York house, right? And I mean, just tell us about that. What did that scene sort of teach you about community and just like everything?
It was the era of DJs who had long sets. And I'm talking about opening to closing. No offense to what we have these days today, but the era I grew up in was, you know, Danny Teneglia open to close, Louis Vega open to close. You know, we have Frankie Knuckles open to close, David Morales open to close. You know, everyone was doing long sets by themselves. We're talking about 6 to 7 hours. Depending on the club, they will even go longer, put in longer hours. So I grew up listening to specific people who were playing music that we now consider classics. You know, and they were playing across the board, not just their stuff. They were playing everybody's stuff and they were breaking new music. I feel like I was spoiled living in New York, being that it was a melting pot of so much different type of music. Obviously, the birth of hip hop was in New York. The soulful house scene was just massive in New York with the birth of Don Welch and the Underground Network. Every Wednesday that would take off and you know, it was just incredible moments. You know, I got to see George Benson live perform with Louis. It was my first time seeing him live perform there. Seeing Barbara Tucker just command the stage. Seeing, you know, labels like King Street, you know, have their record release parties there, Strictly Rhythm, so on and so forth. And it was just an amazing time. It was truly, truly an amazing time. And I kind of wish we could go back to that, but it's why we're here, right? Like ADEs, why we all get together, because we all get to go out to parties and hear different things, and there's label showcases like the way it should be. It was truly incredible. I just wished, people could see what it was like on YouTube, since that's all we have right now. But some people don't. I mean, I have some footage, but it just doesn't look clear at all. I mean, it's 8mm Sanyo camera, like it's not 4K. The kids are spoiled these days. But it was a good time. It was definitely a good era, an era that I cherish forever. I will speak about more thoroughly one day. Yeah, it was, to me, golden era for sure. Even on the radio, we had great DJs: John Robinson, Tony Humphreys, Timmy Regisford. Louis would occasionally be on Kiss FM. It was just a great time. Again, Daryl James, just so many people were on the radio doing great things, playing great music.
And obviously what was golden too in that era was your record, Jus Dance.
Yes.
That really
man.
put you on the map. And it wasn't just a record though, it was a cultural moment, and it still lives on like today. Like so many times I'm just like wandering around the world, and honestly, like that record just comes up like everywhere. It's just iconic. And that obviously, but like I'm so curious to know that what kind of headspace were you in when you made that record? And did you have a feeling that it would resonate the way that it did?
When I made that record, I was living in Brooklyn. I had a job at a marketing agency, and what happened was I just got this MPC machine. I had a Roland XV 2020, and I had like this little M Audio keyboard, and I was just playing all these different things, and I just came up with this bass line and this keyboard work, and I just wanted to do like, just this record that was dedicated to dancers, and it was just incredible, like the vibe and the things that I did, like just out of here and out of here. I just decided to do something that was more or less dedicated to what the dances was like in nightclubs. These were the kids that I was seeing coming out to go support their DJs. Is what we called icebreakers, or dance floor. I forgot. I think it was called dance floor butterflies or something like that, which were these kids who would come to the party with their baby powder and put their coats inside speakers, be one of the ones that start the club. Like if you walked in, they were already dancing, and they were the ones that were breaking the ice so you could dance. So you didn't feel like you didn't need to, because other people were dancing anyway in their own space. So Jus Dance was dedicated to that, to those kids who would come out and who were house dancing. As far as the record going, where it's been, I would have never in a million years thought the record would be where it is right now. Like Janet Jackson using the record, and me performing it with Black Coffee at Madison Square Garden. It's just insane. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm humbled, thankful, and I'm just honored to see where it went.
Did the groove come first or the lyrics?
The groove came first, and then the lyrics played a role in everything. I remember, I'll tell you a quick story. And I wanted to save this for a kind of a bigger YouTube, but I'll hook you up. But the story behind it is, it was 2004, Miami's Winter Music Conference. I'm going back in my mind, so I remember it like yesterday. I was at the Casa Grande Hotel with Louis Vega, and he was going through promo records because he was having his annual MAW Records party at a venue called Opium Garden. I remember he was kind of upset at me because there was a demo that I promised him, but I wound up putting it out with Frankie Feliciano on Reconstruction label. But I also had this demo that I wanted to show him, which was called Jus Dance, and it was on a CDR. So I gave him the demo in his hotel room. He played the demo. He was on his phone and having a conversation while the demo was playing. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at him as he's carrying on a conversation while the demo is playing, thinking, okay, I'm in trouble. He don't like it. I'm going to have to come up with something else to give to him to apologize for giving this record. Halfway through the song, he gets off the phone and he's going through his records. The CD finishes and he looks at me and he goes, I like it. I'm going to test it tonight. And I said, no, you can't. It's a demo. It's not even done yet. It's just a demo. I just wanted to show you. No, he was like, no, we're going to test it tonight and we're going to see if it works. And I was like, but it's not finished. There's no hi-hats. He was like, no, it's finished. He was like, no, it's finished. I was like, are you sure? And he was like, like, it's me. Like, we got it. So we go to the party. I was hired to do the front door. And as I'm working the front door, I remember he played it the first time, and one of the people who was working for him, who's a good friend of mine named Doris, came up to me and she was like, "Hey, is that your record? Because he's playing it, and I like it." And I was like, "Okay, cool." If she liked it, cool. So then he played it again. And then it started to catch on. And then when the party was over, he played it 3 times towards the end. When the party ended, all these people were coming up to me and they were like, "Yo, that's your record?" He was telling us that's your record. When is it coming out? And I was like, "It's not even done. Like, it's not done." And then finally, after we left the place, we went to eat and he said it was done. And I was like, "No, it's not mixed. It's not mastered." And he was like, "Well, mix it and master it, but don't do anything else to it." And I never... That record, the way it's played, is just the way the demo was. So what you hear now and what people consider an anthem is actually a demo. That's the demo. That's not even... It's complete, but I didn't feel it was complete. But Louis felt it was complete, and that was it.
Wow, maybe that's what really gives it such a human element, right? Is that it's so authentic.
Well, the one thing he did say, and he always told me, is less is more. And that record is a perfect example of less is more. And one thing Louis Vega always taught me was, when you make these records, you know, start from whatever you're going to start from, but always work on build-ups. You know, a lot of these records that he makes, there's build-ups and there's not drama, but there's like, it's just a building to it. So it gets to the main piece. You know, there's a building to getting to somewhere. Then you slowly, gradually take it to where you want the level to be and then bring it down, kind of like a roller coaster. So that's the theory that I've always been on.
Like a tension release, yeah. Yep. And how are you feeling? So, well, first of all, thanks for sharing that. It's an incredible story. And wow.
Yeah.
And what I'd love to know is, like, you know, we're here in Amsterdam, ADE Day 1 is kicking off. Like, how are you feeling about dance music in 2025 right now? Like, honest, no filter.
I see the evolution. It's evolving. I think everybody has their own niche and their own lane, which I appreciate. I do hear, if you want me to be honest, I do hear the noise. I see a lot of just, I guess people are trying to figure out what the future holds for this, you know, scene of house music. There's so many different doors to it, though, that I try not to worry about, or try to tell people not to worry about what other people are doing and just do you. But I do see the backlash against the kids with the phones. Look, listen, at the end of the day, you know, people are going to find their way. And hopefully one day, you know, people will learn how to get to love this for what it is instead of it being content or for a moment. You know, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a double-edged sword, right? Like, now we have the ability to capture great moments and share it for the rest of our lives. But at the same time, while we're capturing these moments, we're taking up space for people who want to dance at the same time. So I kind of get it. You know, it is what it is. Sometimes I like seeing great moments captured. I'll be honest with you. My favorite moment that I love to watch, I think there was there was a DJ set that I saw on YouTube, Honey Dijon. I don't know which festival it was, but it was great to see her in her element, take this crowd at a festival, broad daylight, and rock this crowd like only the way she could. And it just, the way you saw throughout her whole entire set, the way she grabbed that crowd is a testament. No one was on their phones. Everyone was just vibing to what she was doing. And I think that's the element right there. And if she can do that in this era, then it can be done. You know, but at the same time, don't complain if, you know, people are going to see Kind Music's videos and all the kids with the phones. Listen, it is what it is. I'm pretty sure they don't like it, but it is what it is. I love their music. I think their music is good. You know, I don't like the backlash, but at the same time, find your own. Opportunities here for everybody to do their own thing. You know, don't complain about what other people are doing. Just do what you do. I think that's key.
100%. And obviously, like, it's so much bigger than where it was when it first started. Like, the amount of people coming in. So, but equally, I do feel like, you know, we also do need to kind of voice how to preserve those values of what house music was founded upon. And so, kind of touching upon that, you know, I wrote this record called The Vibe. And I connected with you on this record. I reached out to your management and I sort of, you know, kind of asked you if you'd wanted to jump on, because I had a very specific vision in mind. But I'd love to know, when you first heard that record, what was it that first, like, drew you in?
the number one thing that I liked about it was you described what you wanted to talk about and how deep that record was, right? Like the deepness of it. I think I had a conversation with you telling you about how I felt about the kids with the devices on the dance floor, and how house music, in its very beginning, house music was meant to get away from everything that was popular. That's what brought house music to be house music. It was to get away from that. That was the escape. That's what made house music house music. We've reached a point here where it's gotten so popular that some people just don't care what it is. It's being monetized like crazy, and it's not really for the purest form for what it is. So like we had the discussion when I made those lyrics, how do I dance around not punishing the kids who want to use their phones, but at the same time embracing the moment and getting off your phone and just living in the moment when you're hearing these things. So just balancing those lyrics, it was a challenge. There were times where, we went back and forth to review, what I did and what I said, and we changed some things, which is great. Putting our heads together for this record to make sure that the message is strong is key. For me, the music, though, is what the production, it was everything. I mean, the elements that you put in, and it's such a deep record. It is a very deep record with a hard message. And it's a message that you could still dance to, but also listen to at the same time and take in. And, hopefully it stands the test of time and it stays there. And Mobley killed it too. So they're pushing it as well. One of the strong labels out there.
Yeah. Shout out to Ralph.
Yeah.
I agree. And, that's exactly kind of where my head was at when, like, I just knew that the title was the vibe. Like, sometimes when you write a record, like, you just save it as like, I don't know, Project A or whatever. But like for somehow like already I just had titled it The Vibe, because I think just like that bass line, like it just felt like it was a vibe, right? But then as I started getting to completion, like when I'd sent it to you, I realized that it would be what is the vibe today in 2025? It's that threat of like being hijacked, because of everything that's going on. And I'm just like a deep person anyway. I'm a Scorpio, so like, that comes with it. Are you?
Yes.
Oh, no
yes.
way.
November 9th. Yes.
No way. I'm November 19th.
Yeah. Nice.
Dude,
nice.
2 Scorpios came together. That's what happens, man.
Yep. There you go. There you go.
That's amazing. I love that. I just found out about you. So exactly. So, I've always wanted my music to be timeless, but also to obviously have a deeper message. But also the big challenge for us with this record was like, we want to say this message, but we don't want to say it in a cheesy way. And it has to still be like pretty underground and pretty cool and just like that. So, but I'm glad that we pushed through and we got there in the end. And I think we're probably both quite happy with like what we achieved.
Yeah, we have to do part 2, man. We need to do a second one. We have to. Yeah.
Indeed. Well, we will make that happen. I'd just like to ask, because, we do have obviously fellow artists who listen on this podcast, and I'm sure that you get asked this question a lot anyway. But what is it that you look for when somebody reaches out for you for a collaboration, or when they reach your manager and stuff? Like, what is it that matters to you?
Usually when people ask me to do vocals for their records, obviously it gets, some people hit me via DM on Instagram, and it doesn't necessarily go through my manager first. I like to review the demo and see if I get something out of it, if I could listen to it. And I listen to it thoroughly. I don't skim through it. I actually listen to the beginning and end. And if I don't feel anything, then I'll be brutally honest and just say that I can't do it. But if it's something that I feel I could do, then great. I get a lot of tracks that are different. I just got one that's 130 BPM. 131, to be honest.
To be precise.
Yes, 131. And although it's not my cup of tea, I took it. Shout to Scott. I don't want to say his name full because we haven't completed it yet. But I took it because I've never wrote to anything that fast. And I wanted to challenge myself. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And I just found out earlier today before we got on this, I just got the email that it was approved. So it's good to go. So, it's my first 131. I'm going to say speed garage record. I think. Yeah. So it's my first one ever to do something like that. So, it's all about challenges too. Sometimes I'll do something 120 and then this is the highest one I've ever did, 131. So.
Wait for like the 160 or something.
No, I'm not gonna. Okay, now you're pushing it. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Drum and bass, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully.
So it's not about, let's say, maybe like the size of the profile of the producers, like
No,
in that sense.
no,
You're
no.
open-minded to
I'll
newbies.
be totally honest. I've worked with some of the biggest names in house music, and I've worked with some of the smallest names in house music. I really don't have a preference. If the music is good and, you guys could work with my management team, then the opportunity's there. It's there. Just shoot me a DM and we can make it happen. So
nice. Slide into Mr. V's DMs.
Yeah, equal opportunity employer. So, yeah.
Love that. I'm curious to know, like, as well, I'm sure, like, obviously a lot of people must ask you this as well, but when it comes to your creative process and writing lyrics, what sort of space do you start with first? Is it like the words? Is it the rhythm? Is it emotion? Do you just completely freestyle on the fly?
Chorus, number one, all the time. I start with a chorus first. If the chorus works and if it rocks, then I write around the chorus. That's the first thing I did with our record, and it's the basis that I've started every record since my very first beginning. I think Something with Jazz was the first time I've ever wrote a chorus, because Jus Dance doesn't have one. So Something with Jazz was my first time where I started with the chorus and then wrote around everything. Every single one of the records that I made after that, I always build the chorus first and then I write around that chorus. So chorus, then comes first verse or intro, then first verse, chorus, second verse, chorus, then outro. That's my formula, and it's never done me wrong. That's the way I structure my stuff.
Nice. I love it. And does anything in particular like inspire you, or like do you have to do something to get into that specific mindset, like of creative flow?
You know what I like to do? I'll be honest. I like to listen to radio shows. I'll be totally honest. Maybe this is weird, but I'll do two things. I'll listen to two different radio shows, or three, a podcast while I'm driving or whatever, like knowing that the night before I got to go in and record. Or I just watch TV, and what I'll look for is to see what's popular or what's hip right now. You know, what the kids are saying or what's working. I try not to listen to pop music at all, but I just try to focus on what I think would work. And me listening to radio shows, the reason why I listen to radio shows like Tool Room Radio or Defector Radio or Jamie Jones's radio show is because they play records that are happening right now and what they consider is hot. And what I do is I listen to the songs that they play and see if I can match that or bring something that's either equal or higher than what they're playing vocally. And that's the way I get myself ready for what I'm going to do for somebody else.
Fair. Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
I think an important thing to talk about, and I obviously experienced some of that of this when we were collaborating and just catching up and chatting about life, was that, of course, like with the voice that you have and it being so recognizable in house, there's also been times where, your vocals have been used or sampled without your permission or credit. And I know that it obviously really gets under your skin. And as it should do, right? And so, like, how do you process that as an artist, and what do you think needs to change in our industry to protect and honor the creators? That,
to me, should have been one of the biggest panels in ADE this year, and I didn't see that here. And I'll be honest, I'm really disappointed that ADE didn't bring up AI usage, musical rights, and just the whole AI, the AI movement that's happening. And the fact that I didn't see it here this year is kind of troubling to me, because it's so rampant right now. I think it's going to be a challenge moving forward for all of us, not just indie artists, but also popular artists as well. We have stem separation now that's in literally every DAW that you buy, where you can take any vocal from anyone without any permission and put it on a track and release it on practically any platform without any type of repercussion being done, unless you have the staff or the team that's going to do cease and desist, or people who are going to go to court and really take action against certain users and creators who take your stuff. I think this is going to be a major problem moving forward, but I think this is a missed opportunity this year for ADE not to have a major discussion about this. I hope in the future that they do, because sooner or later, this is going to get to everyone's doorstep. And it's going to be quite possibly hard, if not already, hard to stop unless, you have a big bag and you have the legal team that's ready to go to war with these services. So it's dealing with these direct. I try my best every day to just, I did a video telling people if they want to use my vocals, I'm not hard to get a hold of. I am not expensive to clear licenses. I'm just not that guy. I work with people who want to use my vocals so that they make sure I get the proper credit. My publishing is involved and so on and so forth. I don't mind when people use my vocals. What I don't like is when people use my vocals, they know how to get a hold of me and they don't. That's the part right there that there's no way you could be lazy in 2025 where you can't at least chat GPT a contact anymore. It's not that difficult. It really isn't. And it's not hard to get things cleared, man. You'd be surprised how many people will say, you know what? Just give me my publishing, a couple bucks here and there, and call it a day. You could do what you want. Just make sure my credits is in there and my publishing. And if you're going to do a cover. Just make sure that the publishing is attached. It's really that simple. It really is.
It is. And unfortunately, it's never been easier, right, to kind of separate these stems but you have to move with integrity, right? It's so wrong. And I feel for you, because I'm sure that for you it must be happening just like almost every day. Unfortunately, I hope not, but yeah. And it is a missed opportunity that it's not being spoken about here at this conference. So maybe an idea to pitch for 2026, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be part of a panel too if ADE would like to have me involved. I mean, there's a lot of discussions, I think, within this music industry as a whole. We have some incredible challenges coming ahead. And I think all of our societies, both ASCAP in the United States and the Europe Society for Musical Composers and people who are supposed to protect us, should be here at ADE having a panel about how they're going to protect us from AI and from people taking intellectual musical property and compositions from other artists without any permission. Like this was a warning sign that was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and this is a conversation that should not be going away. Like this conversation needs to be had this year. And it's really sad that it's not part of ADE this year. And it should have been the forefront on how to protect creators who are coming here, who are trying to find their way into this industry. And this is the biggest challenge that they have to deal with, knowing that if they create something great, somebody next door might just take it, rework it, and put it out as if it's their own. And this is a challenge. It is. Talking
about challenges, I'm sure that you've probably dealt with a lot of, I'm sure you dealt with all sorts of characters in the music industry. I don't think one could kind of get out unscathed or not encounter, the very ego-driven personalities in this game. I'm just curious to know, like, when those types of people come in, and we talk about this because I actually think, it's really important for people to understand that, like, you do have a choice, like, who you choose to work with. And even though there's, like, a specific level of gatekeeping, it doesn't mean that you, just because somebody owns one part of the industry that you really want to be in, that you have to kind of be tormented or like held against, your own values, right? So I would love to know, from your perspective, if you've kind of had to encounter some of these pretty narcissistic personalities, what is your approach?
Yes.
Do you just avoid or?
Yes, I've dealt with narcissistic personalities. I'm not going to mention names, but yes, some were very big in this industry and very narcissistic. Some you can see without me having to mention names. How you deal with that is you just not avoid it. I think in a weird way. Well, I don't want to say in a weird way, but people have a way of showing who they are, and I think when they do that, it's always great. I think the biggest advice I could give people for something like that is to observe everything. Try not to say nothing. Just observe people. I think throughout my whole time in this industry, watched how people reacted, especially when you tell them no. It is the greatest reveal that you can get. Narcissism is everywhere. It doesn't matter which industry it is. I don't think there is an industry that you're not going to deal with someone who's going to be mean or feel like they're owed something or whatever. As long as you have a strong foundation, you got family, you have friends that believe in what you're doing, I think that's key. You know, you need to have the right people and the right team behind you that's going to make sure that they, you know, are on the same mission as you. If there's one group that I can say that really inspired me, and this is kind of crazy, but the first time I met John Summit in Croatia for Defected Croatia, we were in the same van together. And it wasn't meeting him so much. Sorry, John. It wasn't meeting him so much. But I met his team and I saw how dedicated they were to him. And it was truly inspiring. I hope he does a documentary with the same crew.
Parker. And
yes. Those dudes were just the way I saw how one was taking care of his socials. The other one was making sure he was on time. And these were his friends, like from home. And I was so inspired by that. I was like, man, that's a team. That's a team. If you got people like that, family like that are just going to bypass the BS, that's all you need. That's all you need. My team is small. It's just me, Dwayne, and like maybe his assistant, Amy. That's it. Just people that just on the same page, and they wake up. When I wake up, they email me way beforehand, and they want to get it just as much as I do. And they either have the same energy as me or more. And that's what you need.
Exactly. And the team is always led by the artist at the end of the day, right? Like they're the CEO of the mission. But I just think, you know, when it's really important to understand that like you can't change a narcissist. So actually there's a lot of mental peace to be had, not worrying about trying to like explain to that person why maybe what they're doing is wrong, or like it's not, it goes against the values of humanity. And so, you know, having that team around you that's kind of like your compass, but also being aware that like, you know, success breeds narcissism. And there's a lot of that. Naturally, we all want success, right? So what does it do to you when that happens? And also because one of the things that narcissists lack is fundamental self-empathy. And it's scarily something you can't get back. Once you've lost the ability to be empathetic, the research says that it's almost impossible, like even no matter how much therapy. And they say that 1 in 6 people in this world, probably more, are narcissists, because if somebody's a narcissist, they don't just go to the doctor and be like, oh, I think I'm that. Like it's, you know, so it's actually alarming. We have to move through this world and like, yeah. And anyway, moving on from that though, what is the biggest lesson that this industry has just taught you about yourself?
The biggest lesson I learned is this is a marathon, not a race. And what I mean by that is I didn't chase after success. I worked hard for years to get everything that's come to me. I think that's the biggest thing. If you want to stay in this for the long term, then be ready to be in this for the long term. Again, it's a marathon. It's not a race. There's a lot of people who come into this because they saw something on Instagram for 30 seconds and they want the same thing, not knowing that a lot of the people who have those big accolades really sacrifice so much to get what they have. And although this looks great on a 15-minute Instagram clip or TikTok, behind the scenes, there's a lot that goes on. The long flights, sometimes the crappy meals, you know, the stuff you got to eat on the road, the flight delays, the egos you got to deal with. Sometimes you'll have, you know, something going on with something that's part of your label or a management team, or somebody woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or, you know, just all these little things that play a role into it. And then the come down, when the lights turn on, when the party's over, what are you doing? When there's no Instagram to take anymore, what are you doing? Is it still feeding your soul when the camera's not on? You know, all these things come into play. So you just got to prepare yourself for that. And that's what I call a marathon, because sometimes you'll be at the highest. As the old saying goes, be kind to the people you meet on the way up, because you might see the same people on the way down. So, you know, there's highs and lows to this thing, man. You know, I can go on for days about highs and lows, but you just got to be with it and ready for it.
Can you quantify how many years it took, just to put it into perspective?
Well, I was interning for Masters at Work in 1994. My first record came out in 2004 for Louis. Yeah. And then in 2001, it was my first time producing. So I've been DJing and touring with Louis and Kenny and being the intern since 94. So I've been in this game for 30 something years. I try not to put that much. I love it still. Like, I still love it. That's why I'm here. So I still love it. You know, seeing the changes though is crazy. Like, I go to Ibiza every year and I look at what's happening just to see what's happening. And it is crazy from what it was to what it is now. I try not to, again, I try not to poke at the young kids now, because that's how I was. Like, when I was young and my mom and dad were like, come on, come dance disco with us. I was like, I don't want to hear that. You know, I was young. I didn't want to hear that. I wanted to hear Beastie Boys and all that other stuff because I was young. And I try not to poke with the kids and their phones now. It is what it is. Like, you just gotta, it ain't where you're from, it's where you at. You know, hopefully these kids will go to a party that doesn't have phones and they see something different. I found house music by accident. I went to a hip hop party, and it was a DJ at this club called The World. They played hip hop, and then he played Soho Hot Music by Pal Joey. And that whole place changed, like the whole atmosphere, the vibe changed. And then he played D-Light, and then he played Tears by Mr. Fingers, and then he just started playing all these I never heard before. And I was like, wow, what is this? And I became hooked. So you got to hope that these kids do the same thing. That maybe they go to Kind Music one day and then they heard Black Coffee and they wanted to go to that. And from Black Coffee, they heard him play something by Manu or something. Or Manu opened for him and they liked that. And then they went into his world. So, you know, again, house music has gotten so big that there's a space for everyone. I don't like seeing people attack other artists because it's so big now. Like, just, if you don't like what you see, then create your own. Yeah, create your own, man.
Create your own lane. As we sort of come to a close on this episode, you mentioned that you wanted to ask me a couple of questions. So
yes,
we're going to switch the roles for a second.
Yes. How is it being a female artist in this industry that's incredibly male driven, but seeing a lot of female artists getting their due and rocking out? How does it feel? Yeah,
I mean, I think that there's still a lot of progress to be made. I think the official statistic is something like 6% of females, let alone even non-binary, are producers.
That's very low.
That's super low. And then let's even I don't know what the official stat is on how many females are label owners as well. I'm sure that must be much lower. But yeah, look, it hasn't been easy. I think, you know, of course, I've been tested in every way that you could possibly imagine. I've been in this for 17 years. I started as a DJ first. I went to business school, so that, you know, helped me a little bit with just being, you know, understanding boundaries and putting that into play. Because as I said, I really do believe that artists have to think like they are the CEO. And I know that has helped me a lot. I think that the one thing that never changes, unfortunately, is the safety element. I think that's just something that you always have to be really conscious of, because it's such a hedonistic environment, and no matter how professional or sober, whatever you present yourself, you know, if somebody wants to spike your drink, it's accessible because it just takes a split second. And, you know, I've definitely, that's something I've you know, faced before, and it's really scary. I think, you know, but equally, I believe that, you know, we've just got to do what we love, and maybe other people will find an inspiration. I'm aware from my personal lens, I represent maybe to others, because I represent myself, obviously, is that I'm South Asian. We don't see too many South Asian female artists. I'm dyspraxic, so I have a neurodiverse condition where I have an issue with motor coordination. And, you know, I gave a TED talk on that, and people would think, well, how can you DJ and do all of this stuff because coordination is obviously pretty intrinsic. Obviously, I had to tear down my own mental barriers. So yeah, and I think, you know, the other part is that, you know, just generally being a woman, you just there's an unconscious judgment level that just automatically a lot of people just have when the minute you step on stage. And when you're good at it. Yeah, some people can't handle that, obviously. They think you're getting that opportunity because you're female. It's no, nobody's let's be clear. Or they want to know who you're sleeping with or whatever. Yeah, or that as well. But let's be clear, nobody hands anyone anything on a plate. Well, certainly not in my case. I've worked damn hard for the opportunities that I've created, you know, for myself.
Do you think there needs to be a female DJ coalition type thing happening?
I feel like there are already. Like they do exist in the industry. Like She Said So, future female sounds. Like they are. There's a lot of work being done. Certainly more than when I first started.
Do you believe that there should be an all-female house music DJ festival with all female DJs, like multiple tents with different DJs that are all female, like just all that one? Do you think there should be one?
I mean, it's like I can see the pros and the cons, right? One is like, why do we need that to prove ourselves in the first place? I really think the question is more like, how can we get promoters and club owners to seriously book talent? There are plenty of talented female producers and DJs and non-binary as well out there. And why aren't they getting fair spaces on lineups? And why is it should just be 50-50. It shouldn't be, at this point, it's probably, 3 guys, 1 girl kind of thing, but it should be 50-50. And you need to take that, it's harder and harder because like the clubs are closing down. So the spaces for emerging artists to break through is also really difficult. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. Oh, great perspective. Damn, I didn't know 6% was.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's nuts. And
I thought like 15%, 12%, 20%.
Yeah. 6 is nothing.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Yeah.
Like really, really bad.
Really, really bad.
Almost non-existent.
Yeah,
almost.
Exactly. So when you find those female producers who are good at what they do, like you should be championing them, because it's not just like share their music. It's like there's a lot that takes, as you know, to lift people up into the next phase of their career, and like the hustle doesn't stop, as you know, right?
Yeah. Well, it's up to you ladies too to plant seeds as well. Just like I wish the vets. Well, I don't want to say I wish the vets, but I would like to see more veterans of this thing that we call house music plant more seeds. And hopefully they can plant some of the women and everything. So yeah.
I mean, agreed. I think we are always, I'm sure that we women see each other, to be honest. I do think that. And I think it's actually also on the men to equally educate in their spaces if they hear somebody, just being an idiot, like talking negatively and condescendingly about a woman. Like it is, a guy should have the balls to just be like, dude, that's not cool. Like that doesn't make you more of a man because you said that. We need men to also be in that space representing the discussion. But yeah, well, V, it's been a pleasure and honor.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks a lot. Peace out.
Peace, y'all.
Hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed having this conversation. If you want to grab a copy of today's show notes, then head over to missionmakers.com, where you'll also find notes from all of our previous episodes. And if you're interested in talking to me about future opportunities at Davos, producing podcasts, or coming down to some of our music and motorsports events, then you can reach out to me at Mission Makers or at dj.n1nja on Instagram. Thank you as ever for listening, and until next time, keep it laser focused.